Hey everyone, it's Naki. So today I want to talk about something that I always haven't had the words or the language for, but I've honestly been thinking about it a lot lately. What depression really is, what it feels like, and what might actually be happening on a deeper level when you're going through that type of experience or that kind of darkness in your life. Because for me personally, for a long time, I thought that I was just stuck, that I was lazy, unmotivated, or just not doing enough in life. And I would blame myself for everything that wasn't where I wanted it to be. And I would blame myself for little things like not feeling happy or inspired or waking up every day and just feeling like I didn't even recognize myself anymore. And it wasn't until I really started peeling back the layers, and not just on a mental level, but also emotionally and spiritually, that I began to realize that I wasn't really blocked. I was actually just clinging to old stories and old identities and old versions of me that my ego had built to feel safe. But that no longer fit who I was or who I was becoming in this moment. And I just remember going through a season where I felt completely hollow and empty inside, as if nothing brought me joy, and not even the things that used to light me up. I was actually just showing up in the world, just trying to keep everything together and doing what I thought that I was supposed to be doing. But really, truly on the inside, I was really completely checked out. And there were days I didn't want to get out of bed, and I just wasn't really excited or looking forward to anything. I didn't feel connected to the people around me, and I didn't really have a clear reason why, which made everything seem worse because then I just felt guilty on top of everything else. I had so much to be grateful for, so why didn't I feel like it, or why am I being like this? So I just kept trying to push through it all. I thought that if I just worked a little bit harder or managed to stay busier or practice more gratitude or self-discipline, that I could just snap myself out of it. But nothing really changed. No matter what I did, it felt like there was something deep down inside of me that had just completely shut down. And I started asking myself, what if this isn't something that I can fix? What if this is something that I just really need to listen to? And that's when things slowly started to change and to shift for me. And it wasn't because I found some type of magical solution, but it was because I stopped trying to fight myself, and I paused for long enough to hear what the depression was actually trying to say to me. And what I started to realize is that depression for me personally wasn't just sadness or a lack of motivation. It was more like a spiritual shutdown. It was as if my soul was refusing to go any further in the direction that it had been going up until this point. And when I really sat with it, I realized something really big and important, that I was grieving. But I wasn't grieving over a person or a breakup or anything like that outside of myself. I was grieving me, or should I say the version of me I had been performing my whole life, because I had built an identity that was rooted in survival. There was a version of me that tried to make everyone else comfortable and stayed small to avoid rejection. There was a part of me that followed the rules and didn't want to take up too much space, and a part of me that ignored my own needs so that I wouldn't be a burden. And that version of me had gotten me that far up until that point. And I'm not going to pretend like that part of me wasn't necessary. It actually really was in those moments. It kept me safe in a lot of environments where I didn't feel seen or fully understood. But that doesn't mean that I was meant to take that version of me any further. And I think that's what depression was revealing, or I realized that's what it was revealing. It was like my spirit was done, and I had outgrown that identity, but my ego didn't know how to fully let it go. So it kept trying to just cling to the old ways of being, and the result that I got was just emotional paralysis. But I wasn't blocked. I realized I was just misaligned, and I was trying to grow into a new version of myself, but I was still dragging around the expectations, the behaviors, and the thought patterns of someone that I no longer resonated with. And when I really started to see it in that way, when I started to realize that the depression could actually be a kind of initiation or a breaking down of false layers. Something inside of me softened a little bit, and I stopped seeing myself as a failure, and I really started to see the depression as something sacred. It was like something needed to move through me, not just try to escape or suppress, something that I needed to sit with. And one of the things that really helped me begin peeling back those layers, and I know that it's not for everyone, not everyone wants to take this path, but I had intentional psychedelic experiences, and I want to be really clear about that. It wasn't about escaping or just having fun or numbing out. It was really truly about getting still and being present enough to face myself. And the medicine showed me how many layers that I had truly been living under. It showed me how many masks I had worn for so long that I had forgotten what my real face looked like. And it truly cracked me open in a way that was both painful but also very liberating. And I saw parts of myself that I had buried deep down inside, like my creativity, my sensuality, my passion, my voice, things that had been suppressed for so long, just simply because I was taught that they were too much or they just weren't valuable. And it didn't solve everything, but it did something that was a lot more important. It truly gave me access to myself again, and it reminded me that my true self wasn't gone. I was just buried under years and years of conditioning, shame, and fear. And once I could feel that truth, that real self again, even just a little bit, I knew that I could rebuild from that point. So now when I look back on that season of depression that I experienced, I don't see failure. I don't even see the darkness in the way that I used to be or the way I used to see the world. I really see transformation. It was like a slow death of the roles and the identities and the outdated stories that I really just had to let go of in order to step into something more real and more honest. So if you happen to be going through something similar right now, I just want to offer you a new perspective. What if you're really not stuck? What if you're just resisting the death of the version of yourself that's already expired? And what if what you're calling depression is actually just a sacred invitation to stop performing, to stop pretending, and to start rebuilding from the truth of who you really are and not the fear of who you're not. And you don't have to always have it all figured out. You don't have to get it right all at once. But maybe just starting small. Start by noticing the stories that you're still repeating, the ones about what you can or what you can't do, what you're worthy of, and who you have to be in order to be loved. And start asking yourself, are these even yours? Do they still fit? Or are you just afraid to let go? So that's what this journey really for me has been teaching me, that the breakdown is often really truly the doorway to your breakthrough. And if you're really willing to look deeper, to sit with yourself, you can find some amazing things. So if this spoke to you, let me know in the comments down below. I really want to start opening up more conversations like this, really true, raw, honest conversations, not about fixing ourselves, but just really about understanding what's actually happening inside of us on a deeper level. So thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next video.